Hiya. Right, this video is my overall psychological political perspective. Now, what I, what my goal is for people to see through the psychological manipulation that is dished out by Westminster. See through is the correct way of putting it. Sometimes I say end, vanquish, and that sounds like fighting. They can't beat the propaganda matrix from within it in the system. It has to be seen through. I'll explain that later in the video. First of all, what is the propaganda matrix? It's in the UK it consists of Downing Street, the TV news media, and what I think of capitalist spy influence. I'm not a Marxist, but I don't deny that they're part of the cartel. I mean, they're funding, they're blackmail the political parties, basically, don't they? By to do this policy, do that policy, and get all this money off us, and if you don't, we'll pull it. And also, of course, the newspapers are billionaire. They're part of the Murdoch Empire, for instance. So, and also, I want to be clear, that's a cartel. The UK is not a competitive democracy. The political parties are just meant to take over the machinery of that. They're meant to take over basic. And they've got the military as well. Everything that holds all the system up is just what they want. And then they've got the propaganda matrix. They're part of it then. And that's what it is. Parliament, Downing Street, the parties, national news media, capitalist spy and influence. It's not a competitive democracy. It's one thing, cartel, pretending to be a competitive democracy and applying divide and rule in its own interests. So just like dishing out whatever a load of crap that I don't really believe in, it's just to maintain the existing order. So they dish out some culture war crap. It's just they don't want harm existing power, so it's just serves them nicely. Just kind of like keeps them ticking over. We're not really bothered about ourselves. Not the way it works. Right. So I'll reflect on a couple of things I've said recently. Once we've vanquished the propaganda matrix, that would be enough for me. I have no other principles, but this propaganda matrix is pretty whopper. It's a cancer. It's one. It might be. I'm not biased on this. Right? If it's what people want, then don't prop it up with billionaires or news media to brainwash us to believe in it. Because if we really want it anyway, we don't need manipulating. Right? And if we don't want it, but you're trying to manipulate us to want it, I wouldn't want my views propped up by billionaire propaganda matrix. I would just think, why? Is it because you've got something to fear that you need to do this to maintain your own power? I mean, it doesn't sound like they have much confidence in their own worldview. It makes them sound like, oh my God, we need billionaire companies all over the place, all these different news media brands, thrusting into people's faces 24/7 a day, a year, a week, 24/7, 365 days a year, and get the military to kill them if they don't. But it seems a bit blooming and obsessive to me. I think the best thing to do is calm down and just see if your ideas work. But I think what it is they're benefiting from it. So the answer to that to us is no. That's what it is. It's just because they benefit so much from this propaganda matrix that it's not so much the ideas that the propaganda matrix throw out there. It's their status, power, wealth, control, their narcissism, their neurosis, their neediness for validation, their status, that kind of stuff. And now, the way people need to, we'll get on to how people see through it in a minute. First of all, I want to just talk about party politics in a surface way, but not because you'll see that it's not because I'm giving it any credence to surface politics, because at a point I'll say, now I'm getting onto the real stuff, the propaganda matrix part of it. That is where you'll see what I'm doing. Right, so the surface part of it, apparently 70 would vote because on top of Labour's support, the Liberal Democrats voters like Starmer even more than Labour do, even more than Labour voters do. Whereas the far left of Labour say, "Oh, he's a Tory," and also the Greens voters surprisingly also see Starmer as something like a Liberal Democrat, and they like him too. And therefore, this solidity of most of Labour's vote is going to stick with Starmer, obviously. All the Liberal Democrats think he is a Liberal Democrat, and the Greens, you might think the Greens aren't much, but 5 or 6% on top of the Lib Dems, something like 13%, and then you've got you know what I mean? And the and also the Labour broke into Scotland, and yes, SNP voters, some of them have moved over to Labour. You've really got so anyway, blah blah blah. You can see what I mean. Studies are saying 70% for Labour, 30% Tory. If there was just one centre left party and the Tory party, that Tory vote goes up from about 24% or something to 25% to 30% because of whatever the Brexit party are called these days. Now we'll get onto the propaganda matrix part of this. As with anything else, all of this is to manipulate the public. The propaganda matrix knows that everything is really one. We don't live in a competitive democracy, multiple party democracy. There's zero threat to the UK's power relations here from that 70%. Therefore, because there is no threat to the propaganda matrix, all the manipulation that comes from the news media, TV news media, newspapers, from Parliament, from Downing Street, all for their own good, will continue, and nothing will change. And that is because, just like, think of it like this: if you're one of those Brits that regularly goes to Australia, you're going there for the sunshine or whatever, and you might live there for a long time of the year, maybe forever. And what if you say you go back and forth? When you go back and forth, you don't go, "Oh, I'm not going back there now." No, because the such and such has got into power, and blah 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 blah. I don't like them, and such and all of Australia will be different now. No, we know that the state is in control in Australia, just like it is here. Yeah, they've got the Murdoch news media. So nothing changes. Doesn't matter. So that's why people really deep down know this, and they go there, irrespective of who's in power, because it makes no bloody difference. So the 70% of the Brits will ensure the continuity of the propaganda matrix. That is what they're doing. So therefore, I call them the Tory party, because we must not give continuity of the same power structure a different name, because that's part of the propaganda, that's part of the fooling us. It's the same thing. So I call it the Tory party. That's the best way to put it. It's ironic that many of that 70% dislike things like the national news media, dislike Parliament, dislike politicians, dislike Downing Street. They dislike all of it, and yet they validate it. Simple as that. It's how it is. It's because they fall for the propaganda matrix. The propaganda matrix wants people like them. It just does. And obviously, the brainwashed become the brainwashers. It's the manipulative psychology, the propaganda matrix that I oppose. So I'd be fine with whatever. Once people see through the propaganda matrix, I'd be fine with whatever came out of that, whether it was centre-right economics or centre-left economics, or far-left economics, very libertarian right-wing economics. I'd be fine, because the manipulation distorts what we are, or if it fails to distort what we are, it tries to distort what we are. So then we think, well, maybe it's succeeded. We'll only really know if it succeeds without a manipulative attempt on us, or if it, you know what I mean. So just, and a crucial point now is that we don't try to destroy the propaganda matrix. The way to see through it is to cease consuming and validating it. Cease consuming the news media, like the TV news media and the rags, such as the Divide and Rule, Mail and Sun. I think the Sun's whole existence has been divide and rule of the working class. That's the Sun's particular role in the propaganda matrix. Now the Sun is dying because print media is going out, but it's still got those TV news thingy-majigs that are now replacing that kind of tabloid thing. The news media, and don't validate it in elections. Again, that just means that the continuity of it. I find that so ironic. It's the continuity of it, because what is happening is that people don't realize that because they're the same time and place and ego psychology, mind in world history, that they're just the same as their opponents. So they just keep it going while thinking that it's somehow competitive. It's absolutely propaganda on steroids. It's a mixture of, like I said, the brainwashed and the brainwashers. Being the brainwashed become the brainwashers. Have they still to be brainwashed? Classic. It's funny, and it's not funny. So really, I don't think it's funny. I mean, it sounds funny, but it's not. I want rid of the propaganda matrix, not as a hidden agenda or a secret agenda of something else I want that I'm not talking about. I want rid of the propaganda matrix for the damn honest reasons that I'm saying. So I'm not doing propaganda. I'm not being manipulative, thinking, I know, if we get rid of this, then we'll get a Marxist revolution. I'm not thinking that. I thought all this through, and what I want is just an end to the manipulation, and people are then what they are. And it's just wrong to manipulate. It's wrong. Do I have to argue that? So, like, some people are manipulated. Some people may be joining in it. I don't know. But I mean, if they're joining in it, are they doing it like consciously? They know they're manipulating now. You know what I mean? So this is the world I want. I want ending. Not the world. I want to end the world. I want people to see through, cease consuming the propaganda matrix, cease validating the propaganda matrix. Now, on the question of whether it can happen, it's so strange, because on one hand, I'm mainstream vanilla in disliking politicians, Downing Street Parliament, disliking the Mail, the Sun, the other national news media, Telegraph, or whatever, disliking the TV news that's validating it all. That's all vanilla mainstream. But what isn't vanilla mainstream about me is that I said the only way to overcome it is not to take it on. There's no mechanism if you take it on to bring it down. None. If there is, you tell me what it is. I thought about this. There's nothing. That's so clever about the propaganda matrix. So as soon as people try to take it on, all they end up doing is validating it, consuming it, validating it, giving it its power, which it then uses against the public to maintain its power. The only way to get rid of it is to cease paying it attention, to cease being its crowd, its audience. And it can't divide and rule if people aren't paying it any attention. It needs you to be paying attention to it, be consuming it. Once people say, like, I'd say, I'm finished with you lot, I'll try and get what I want a different way, then it can't do anything. It can't mind possess. Can't mind possess those who can't never think about it 99% of the time. And it can't divide and rule because people wouldn't know what, you have to consume it for it to manipulate you. You have to be in relation with it. So that's my psychological, political. This is a cancer on in us, and that getting rid of that poison is what counts. So that's definitely enough. That would free people's minds that don't even realize they're unfree. That's the propaganda, though. And it's Feeny, ain't she cute? Not Beanie, but Bean. Okay, that's the end of the video.